Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Julian's Detroit Driver Blue, the channel for Detroit area Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. Anybody in the rideshare industry, this channel is pretty much designed for the encouragement and a little bit of a helpful hinting toward um, better rideshare practices and stuff that we can kind of compare notes on and things like that. Glad to have you, and just wanted to uh, sort of give you a little synopsis of my night. Uh, again, this is in no means expert opinion or anything like that. Just love doing what I'm doing as a rideshare driver in the Detroit market. Out here to get what I can get in terms of the good trips, the good quests. We're pursuing a couple quest opportunities. Um, had a great Thanksgiving week, but mainly spending time with family, to be honest, versus out here driving every single day. But today was my day that I just got out here and just started hustling. Um, had a little bit of a part-time day 2 days ago, and today was more of the full-time get out here and got to make some money kind of a day. So I started around 2:30 time frame and just started doing some rides, taking some folks down to the downtown area. I took a young lady from her home in the suburb, or her home in the, yeah, it was the suburbs, to a driving school, and she was seemed very friendly, very nice, and it was a nice trip. It was a surge ride, and this particular ride, the reason why I'm remembering it was because I started out with your typical pings coming up on my Uber platform, and I drive Uber X and Uber Select. So the typical pings that I got were 10-minute rides, 8-minute rides, 12-minute rides away. But I noticed plenty of surging going around in the western Wayne County area, and I decided to take advantage of that, and I declined a few rides, hoping to get a surge, at least a 1.5 or 1.3 or something like that. And lo and behold, I ended up getting a 1.3 surge ride. Not that big of a deal, but the point is, I was holding off, and I do chase the surge every now and again, even though they say not to. They meaning a lot of YouTubers who do rideshare. I ended up, after several denials, finally accepted a ride, which was not even 8 minutes away from where I was at that 1.3 surge, and that was that young lady taking her downtown into the Detroit downtown area, rather. I keep wanting to say downtown Detroit, but so it was one of those rides where it I learned a little bit about how I need to definitely hit the overview, the trip overview button, that little swirly, curly, cute, curvy type button at the bottom right corner of the screen. And sometimes I don't want to do that because I don't want a passenger to like wonder whether I'm going to not want to drive them to their destination or something. I just don't want them to feel uncomfortable, like I don't know where they're going. And sometimes just paying attention to the navigation is something you can do, and versus looking at their destination. However, it is good to know basically what general direction the ride is going to be going in. And it's nice to see that, it was going toward the east side. However, my mistake was I didn't zoom in on exactly where it was going, and I was assuming it was going toward the northeast side of the Metro Detroit area, like the Macomb County area, where there's a lot of industry. We end up doing a lot of transportation. We end up taking a lot of employees to these different jobs. Um, Folks that don't opt to drive a car to their locations, and it's lots of availability to help these folks get to work on the east side, as well as the west side, of course, and of course downriver at the different plants. But instead of looking at that final destination point, I assumed, and I thought the app was telling me a not so good way to go, so I kind of did it my way. We all know we always want to do it our own way. And it sort of made for a little bit more of a delay. Now, because I know the city of Detroit very well, having worked for the city and retired out of the city, I know the area. So I was able to get her downtown and shave off a little bit of time, the time that I had lost because I was not following the app like I should have. But again, these are the things that, even having been driving for basically a year, I still make my little mistakes, have to learn from them, have to do a, oh, darn, guess I'm not going to do that again, or note to self type of thing. So that's an example of learning from mistakes, telling on yourself, and hey, I'm going to share it because I don't want any of you to make those mistakes. These are things that we can kind of help each other out. It was not really a matter of going in the wrong direction, but it was a matter of taking a large avenue as a crosstown pathway of travel to reach another freeway versus staying on the same freeway. But the one thing about the app that I didn't follow again was the fact that we have an express and a local lane option to drive on Interstate 96, the Jeffries Freeway. I opted to drive on the express lanes. This confused the navigation. It was like registering my speed going faster than 55 miles an hour, even though it's 70 miles an hour. Don't know whether that's changed in the app or whether they didn't recognize that I was in the express lanes. It's just sort of an interesting quirk about the express lane and local lane issue that I think definitely needs to be addressed. So I might get a hold of Uber and let them know about the different places, different area on the freeway that there's a different speed limit. So, because it looks bad to look down and see that you're going over the speed limit in an area of the freeway where you're really not. It's 70 miles an hour versus 55. There was another trip today that did the same thing. I was taking some gentlemen from the southwestern part of the city and taking them to Oakland County area, Farmington Hills area. And it was telling me to go into the local lanes and use those when there really wasn't any kind of a backup or accident or anything like that at all in the express lanes. So was able to not give the best service because I wasn't able to be in the express lanes. Again, this might be an issue I probably need to bring up to Uber about the trip, so as to help other Uber drivers stay in the express lanes. If you I misspoke. If your destination ends up taking you completely out of the city, so basically your trip ends up being a cross-town freeway drive. No reason to be in the local lanes. Um, the only reason why being in the local lanes can be a good thing is if you're waiting for a ping, you are approaching specific kinds of freeways like the Southfield Freeway, as you very well know in the Detroit market, or you want to get an easier exit on Detroit's west side, either onto Telegraph or West Outer Drive. So that way you'd want to be, or Greenfield Avenue, you'd want to be in the local lanes. For the most part, better to just jump on the express lanes if you're not planning on stopping in the city, or your destination is nowhere in the city of Detroit and it's somewhere in Western Wayne or in the out county areas like Oakland County, or Washtenaw if you're going way out there, or whatever the case is. But so those are two issues with the navigation that I definitely wanted to bring up. Maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. I guess I sound kind of stupid talking about the fact that I didn't follow the app right, but hey, after even, close to about 300 trips on the app with Uber, basically relatively new as a rookie, kind of, I guess you could say. Still learning my ins and outs of the app. However, I think it's definitely important to notice the little things. That way we can notify Uber of something if the navigation is just not working up to snuff. So, but I had a little bit of a hour and a half lunch, took a break, exercise, did a little exercise between my runs or between my trips, and I also went and saw my fiance. So had a little bit of a hour and a half little break in my trips today. Spent a little time with her and just kind of chit chat. Caught up with her over some coffee, and her mom's in town, so it's kind of important to hang out with her. But got back on the road and had an awesome trip from the Canton area to 275 Michigan Avenue area, which is an aviation school. Didn't even know it was there. Never been to it before. It's kind of neat little place where kids are learning all about aviation. And found out that it was called in by his mom, and this individual is in the city of Detroit in the Joy Road Southfield area. So here I go, jumping back on the freeway. Navigation worked out just fine. Of course, I know my area, I know my way around that particular area because I worked on this side of town before I retired. So ended up having a great conversation with the young man, shared a little bit of my experience with the United States Navy with him, and he was interested in either doing one of the military services after he gets out of his training. So that was kind of a enjoyable ride, I could, to say the least. And I know this is getting a little bit long. Also wanted to point out that picking up in the city is not always the most fun. And sometimes one would always think that it's not going to be a long trip, it's going to be a short trip because, they just want to go from one part of the west side or the east side to the other, and that's it. Or you're just going to assume, wrong answer. That trip that I referred to, as far as picking up those kids, those younger gentlemen in Southwest Detroit, which I thought it was just going to be a brief trip, taking them to West Verner or something like that, or just so they could get something to eat or whatever the case is. I ended up taking these kids to Farmington Hills. Awesome trip. It's like a $19, 12-cent ride. They gave me a $5 tip. It was a beautiful thing. So just when we assume that going from a certain area, yes, totally the wrong answer, the wrong thing to do. And that is the type of a thing, type of a learning experience that make anybody driving for rideshare in the Detroit area, Detroit market. These rides are not always what they seem. Of course, you got to be on alert. You have to be wary of your surroundings. Cancel the trip if you feel unsafe or uncomfortable. Be direct with your passengers. Always make eye contact and sort of have a good back and forth. Let them know that you're assertive and you're serious about what you're doing with your rideshare business. And that's best I can do for tonight. But I'm going to be seeing some friends of mine in a little bit here. So I don't know whether I'll probably be back on the app a little bit later. So maybe I'll catch up and do a recap of the rest of the night's events in terms of rideshare. So be safe out there, all you who are venturing down the Uber and Lyft avenues, and be smart and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and be good to confer with each other and encourage each other and help each other out. Thanks a lot. Good night.